think that's the wrong one. Mhm. Hello everybody. This is Dominic Kafka. I am the new AI community architect working for InstructLab. Before we get into this meeting, there are just a few things I want to cover. Um, we have a InstructLab community code of conduct, so make sure to follow that. All the meetings are going to be recorded and posted on the InstructLab YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be on camera or even have your name on the screen, then you can either just turn off the camera or dial in via phone number. If you have questions, then just raise your hand. If you're on mobile, then just unmute and ask when you believe the time is right. You can also type in the chat, so uh, we'll answer questions from there, and we'll also publicize the chat transcript after a meeting. And also on this list, you can add your name just so we know that you were here. You don't have to add your name if you don't want to. But yeah. The first thing I want to mention is that I am hosting, so which is a bit nerve-wracking, but the reason I'm hosting is because Kara and Carol are in DEF CONF for this week. So if you have any questions for them, I'm happy to take those questions and I'll forward it to them. Because I am new and there's a lot of information I have to learn about InstructLab and the team in general, I might not be able to answer everything, but I'll do it to the best of my ability. I'm also not entirely sure of what else to cover. JJ, is there anything that we can mention for what happened this week, or?
Uh, Actually, no. We are patiently waiting for the 018 release of InstructLab, which will change a significant amount of things happening. And we are on RC7, I believe, which was cut your late night, my last last bit of the afternoon. So we don't know how many RCs are going to be, but there are 7 now. So we'll see when that gets changed and released. And then with that, there's going to be a significant amount of work that we have done in the past already that we're going to have to do again. The knowledge submissions changing. Some of the commands still have aliases, from what I understand.
Mhm.
But there are going to be a different way that a lot of the actual workflow changes now too. A lot of our backend systems are going to have to be updated to deal with the new change. And then our friends over in the UI team that has shown up at this community meeting a few times, they're going to have to change their UI because uh, the workflow changes.
Yeah, there will be workflow changes, which
Uh,
sorry, I'm reminding the
but,
notes.
there'll be more back-end workflow changes and including knowledge submissions. And also, BJ, keep me honest here. The SGG is with skills is changing also, right? But from the downstream community side, we don't actually see that, but the actual backend does, though, right?
Well, for skills, there's no real change in the schema, right? So
Okay.
V1, V2, V3 are basically identical on the skill side.
Got it.
But on the knowledge side, the back end only accepts V3 knowledge. And with the latest changes, it will actually error out if you try to feed it some V1 or V2 knowledge.
That's right. That's
Mhm.
right. Thank you for that. Yep. Yeah. So basically, we're patiently waiting for that to happen.
Okay.
Marty, you spent some time in the COI meetings. Is there anything else that we should bring up for the community meeting? maybe.
Hello.
Hey,
Oh,
Um, at the moment, the CLI meetings have just restarted in the probably last week or two. The last discussion we had was around possibly when 18 is going to be released, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
So, question then, maybe you can provide some clarity on this. The main branch is sort of locked up now, trying to build 18, even though they're in RC 7 or 8. I would have thought that the moment they thought they were at RC version, they would have cut a branch and built it off the branch so that main can be open for contributions again, because there's a lot of stuff sort of backed up waiting for 18.
Is that directed at me, BJ?
Well, yeah, I didn't know if you had any insight there. I mean, I just went through the various release documents, and they're sort of non-specific in that space.
Yeah, I think you know as much as I do.
That's what I
As
figured.
in, and no, I don't mean that in a flippant way. I mean, you know, the only contact of it at the moment is through the CLI meetings. So I suppose it's something we can ask on Thursday, isn't it? Is the next one?
Yeah, Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to pester them on Thursday because I think that, you know, when you get ready to RC, you must be this close to the end that you should cut a branch and cherry pick onto it the things you need to get to final.
Yeah, I'm not privy how they're doing the RCs and stuff. So I don't know because it's the model they're using at the moment for cutting this is kind of different to a full public model. So
I feel like I should start going to those CLI meetings myself. If anything, just to be informed.
yeah. The meeting last week was there was a lot of discussion going on. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend viewing it. I think it's already up on the channel.
One of the things we did discuss in the CLI meeting last is the end-to-end story for the public taxonomy repo. And to some degree, it appears that there's no home for that discussion because the CLI team basically said that's not our job.
Nice.
So I don't know where that community is, right? I mean, we can talk about it in the taxonomy triage meetings all day long, but we don't run a back end. We just triage incoming PRs to feed them into the back end. So I think there's a gap somewhere in terms of who owns that and where does that community meet and talk. And, you know, maybe it's a triage meeting, but the right people aren't showing up to talk about it.
So I got permission as soon as the end-to-end tests are up and running to join the public model build process team.
Mhm.
So when we start building off of the public taxonomy, again, for the Granite Lab model, I'll be actually on that team working with them. So
So you'll be our
I have
source of information.
pretty much, and I think that means, from what you're saying, I will probably help build that circle, I guess is a good way to describe it, of knowledge. So then we can, which I'll probably end up just taking over the taxonomy meeting, or at least put it on that portion, because you're right, it's all the same people. It's just, I guess I'll own it. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
We'll
The
see how that
basic
goes.
questions were like, you know, when is it going to start, and when are we going to get stuff, and I think the other thing that's missing that was pointed out too is that there's no communication through, for example, the main README and the taxonomy repo, that things are paused, and
Yes.
when are we going to unpause? And because basically right now, if you look at it, it seems to be, you know, in operational mode, but it really isn't.
So just to make sure that's clearly answered to anyone who's watching this in the future, today is August 13th. We, to BJ's pointed statement, it isn't running, and we have not decided to change the README due to we do not know when it will run. So we don't want to be imprecise by saying 2 weeks or 3 months on the PR on the README because we do not have an actual understanding of when we have a possibility of it starting up again.
Right.
But we also don't want to
like it's paused for some unknown period. We'll get back to you.
Unfortunately, that was shot down by some people higher up than us, because I would prefer not to even imply that it is. It's a very weird. There's a very strange conversation, but they don't want to show the negative side of it. So it was very strange. It was very strange. But that's the gist of it. We're we have answers when people put PRs in. If you've noticed, there's been a couple PRs on the taxonomy side that I have thanked them for doing the work for skills, but we are on a hold until further notice. So. I know it's not a great answer, but that's the answer we have.
Okie doke.
Mm-hmm. Joe, do you got any questions for us? He's not there.
Well, I mean, if nobody has any more questions, then I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, sorry,
Joe.
I'm here. I just couldn't find my window. No, I don't have any more. I don't have any questions either. Kind of the same thing. Just wondering, what the status of things is. So, the usual.
Yeah, the community meeting, just for future conversation, is supposed to be a place where we gather to bring all these the bits of knowledge in together.
Mhm.
But we've not been very rigorous about it in the past, and with the way the project is, people taking vacations, and the typical lines of communication have just frankly stopped working. There's been a lot of really strong confusion, and it's frustrating for everybody. And a lot of the time, it's just you've got to ask the pointed questions around until somebody will be either give you a straight answer, or you'll be able to find some. They'll tell you to go talk to that person, and it's not great. Admittedly, it's really not great. But until we unplug the workflow or the pipeline and start getting things up and running again, we're all in this weird state, and it's all hingent on 18 being released. Cool. All right, Dominic, I think we're done, buddy.
Yep. Thank you very much for attending. I'll just mention again, this video will be on the YouTube channel. I will update once the video is up, and I'll also put in the chat transcript once that's also available. Okay. Thank you very much.